Okay, balloon inflate is probably the most complicated part of this process. That's why I'm doing a separate section on that. I leave it unplugged overnight, so I'm going to obviously be plugging it in. This really is a two-person job. It can be done with one person. It's just a little more awkward, as you'll see. Two ladders are definitely useful for this. So the basic process is I'm going to I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to remove the cardboard wrapper on the balloon. I'm going to position the ladders so that I can quickly go up and down either side, and that's really just to help guide the balloon to make sure it's not snagged, etc., etc. The ropes, there's retaining ropes loosely taped to the upper portion of the balloon. That's to hold it in place during windy conditions after it's inflated. And those joints actually slide, but sometimes I might have to manually slide them. I also have little pull tabs on the balloon to help, providing a place to grab the balloon easily to reposition it if necessary, and yeah, usually it is necessary. If there's a better way to do this, I'm open to hearing what it is, but this is the best I could figure out. Call it a 1.0, I guess. Okay, so here we go with the actual balloon setup. I realized that was probably not much detail from a distance, so let me come a little bit closer here. So the cardboard, it was just the two pieces came together on the top, and I had a piece of cord which has fallen down now, just tied around it. I'm using one of those flooding blower, those blue blower things. It's buried inside here at the moment. There it is. And the on-off switch is actually on this side. It's important, obviously, to keep the in vent open. And I kind of have a little piece of cardboard here to sort of try to make that happen, but sometimes okay. So it's important to keep that open, obviously. Okay, so here we go. Initial power up. And the critical part here is just to guide the initial inflate, make sure it doesn't snag on anything. I find it helpful to pause it periodically and then kind of push it back into place. I think I'm going to have to put the phone down and use both hands here, unfortunately. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. Sorry, this. Most of the action seems to be happening over on the other side, so I'm just going to shift to the camera position here. Okay, so one of the critical points is to guide the balloon inside the retaining lines. Try to get it to hang over from the inside to the outside before it fully inflates, which is what I've been kind of doing on this side. Well, that actually went fairly smoothly. It probably didn't look like it, but that was one of the smoothest setups so far. As you can see, it's pretty much fully inflated at this point in time. The upper guide ropes are not quite lined up right. I can fix that in a moment. The critical, I guess you could say, you know when you've achieved success is when the upper portion of the balloon overhangs the PVC rim, because that basically will keep it from falling down, because the air itself is not quite enough to keep it upright by itself. There's a couple of reasons for that. You can see here I have a vent clamped in the open state. This is actually critical. Originally I was closing this vent. You get faster inflation that way, but that's not a good thing. You actually want slow inflation, because then you have time to maneuver the balloon as it gets bigger. So I've clamped this in a permanently open position. The vent is sized according to this blower. It's on its lowest speed, and with the rate of inflow and the size of the vent, the balloon is stable. If I close off this vent, the balloon will actually pop. And I learned that the hard way during testing. I actually blew a few holes in it, which you can probably see somewhere around here. Anyway, I had to patch a bunch of holes that I blew in it because it popped. So actually, the balloon aspect of it actually follows regular physics. Morning. Okay, so yeah, we got a good inflate here, except a couple of those guide ropes. I like them to be perpendicular and covering an actual quadrant of the balloon. I guess it looks a little neater that way, but it's mainly for wind stability. We're blessed with very calm wind, very calm air first thing in the morning, which is the best time to do this for inflate. But then it does get a little windier later in the day, which complicates things. I'll show that process later. What was I saying? Oh yes, so calm. Ideally do this in a zero wind environment. And also I have it faced, we generally get wind from the southwest, which would be that direction. So it's kind of facing directly into the wind, which is, well, I think it makes it a little bit simpler if it is windy out for taking it down. Okay, so let me show you how I reposition those guide ropes. Again, this is kind of optional, but I just want to do it for extra safety. So let me put this thing down. Okay. Get my camera sat down here. Okay, I think, can you see that? I think so. Okay. So I have a PVC pole. 10-foot pole. And I basically just use it to reposition the rope. So I think that's a little better. Yeah, that are definitely quite a bit better actually. So the guide rope is somewhat perpendicular there. This one's a little bit off. That's not too bad. Due to the wind direction, it's actually the front ones probably that are most useful. Okay, that's not too bad. I don't know if you can see it from this. Oh, let me take a closer look. Okay. Grab a ladder. Sorry, I need one hand to hold the camera and 2 more hands to do the work. Okay, here's a place where I have taped the rope. It's loosely taped, so the guide rope will actually slide up and down through this. And the reason for that is so that the balloon can fully deflate, whereas the guide rope is fixed onto the PVC rim. Okay, here's a place where either it got snagged or it blew during initial testing. Just put a piece of packing tape over it. No big deal. The balloon will actually run okay with many holes like that in it if they're small, which is kind of nice because the balloon is actually somewhat resilient. You'd think it would be, but at the same time it's kind of delicate. There's a bad patch job I did right there. Ideally you don't want to get creases in the balloon because that puts extra stress points. It looks like there's a bit of a stretch point developing on the right hand side of that patch. That might tear open. No big deal, just put another piece of packing tape to patch it up. I think I probably had to do that one when it was, I don't remember if it was inflated or deflated at the time. If it's patching when it's deflated, you can get a nice, even, smooth patch. This one I think was probably done after it was inflated because you can see it's not, I don't know if you can see, it's not completely flat. I probably just tore off a piece of tape and slapped it on there, tried to stick it on as best I could. You know, the balloon provides a little bit of resistance, so the tape will actually stick on okay. Here's one of the pull tabs I think I mentioned earlier. This one is mounted for vertical repositioning. I actually don't need those too much anymore. That was helpful, very, very helpful originally before the guide ropes were up. I should have attached the guide ropes to the balloon before putting it up the first time, except I didn't think ahead, I guess, or I wasn't sure just how long the ropes should be, etc., and the placement. So, but anyway, the pull tabs really helped out. So that's a vertical pull tab. I also have some horizontal pull tabs, which are mounted the other direction. Basically, I follow the seam either horizontally or vertically, depending on which way I want to pull the balloon, because it's a little bit safer to pull the balloon on a seam than just, you know, in the middle of a panel, because the packing tape provides a little bit more thickness and strength. Okay, so getting back to the original subject here. Okay, so the balloon part is up. Just a little bit of tidy up work now, just to remove the, get rid of these cardboard wrapper things. Oops. And, okay, so I just leave these little ones here. I duct taped it so I don't have to keep putting them in every day. They do get a little soggy, but if you duct tape them at both sides, it's okay. So here's the blower that we're using, and here's the in valve, I guess. I had Velcro on there, but the Velcro came off. It doesn't stick too well to this, so I've duct taped the in valve or inlet to the blower, and that seems to be working quite well. So basically, the bottom of the balloon is level with the top of the blower here. That was supposed to be fake fire. It's not very visible. This one I just leave here. This one here was mainly, so I should have cut these 2x4s down, but when I was putting this up I didn't really know exactly if how high it needed to be, so I left it here. They probably should be cut off down here, but then this is kind of useful because, you know, you can put this thing in, or especially on the other side, put a little vent cover on, but it does provide another snag point. So, but putting the cardboard over the wood helps protect against that. Let's see what else. So